Hello, everyone. How's it going? It's Brian here. I don't know. Doing crazy YouTube intros. I don't know how I'm supposed to. So I suppose this is financial, right? So we're supposed to be all professional. How's it going? Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Weekend Frivolity. This is our Broiler Chicken Show. Bark, bark, bark. Bark, 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 bark. You know how it goes. We'll do one of these formal intros one of these days. Sure would be nice to move towards that direction. But anyway. So happy Sunday. I'm in a bit of a sanguine mode. Guess who just doing their taxes? Jesus H. Christ. I thought this was supposed to be a religious feel good about the universe and positive karma weekend. Oh boy. Doing your taxes deadline for filing here in Canada is May 1st. So might as well get it out of the way now. Anyway, obviously Brian's in a bit of a sanguine mode, but I did sort of regular routine for the site and sort of social media. I kind of like getting into this habit. I think it's probably a good habit to get into where basically once a week we just take a 64,000 foot view or 127,000 or 346,000 foot view of our beloved Bitcoin and what it's doing and where it looks like it's going. And I get the impression, I mean, it's kind of funny in this environment, but my sort of headline here from the higher time frame tweet is 3 weeks of indecision. You don't see that every day. So actually, I was even going through the price chart and trying to find when was the last time we actually had 3 weekly dojis in a row. And geez, it's been, I honestly haven't seen this before. So it's clearly precedent setting, but that's kind of how the market works is usually the market will do the exact opposite of what everybody is talking about. And especially if you like tune into like YouTube, social media influencers and all that kind of fun stuff. 9 times out of 10, the market does exactly the opposite of what they're all barking about. So, you know, remember 50, 60,000 Bitcoin, everybody would say it was going to the moon. Fortunately, they didn't see a 50% haircut coming down the pike. Actually, even more than that, eh? So I do understand that there are quite a few fundamental drivers coming up here. That it does kind of make sense that everybody who was going to buy into those events has bought. And then there is a lot of supply that potentially is going to hit the market, whether it be things like Mt. Gox. And from what I understand, their bankruptcy court is finally sort of coming to some sort of resolution about releasing those seized Bitcoins. I don't know if it's 140,000. Don't quote me exactly on that number. I think that's what I saw. I don't know whether I've spelled this guy's name right correctly, but the current bureaucrat who's in charge of enforcement over there down in the States, the Securities and Exchange Commission, which is such a joke. Because literally the entire time that I was a broker, and really you could argue all through the, well, geez, I guess I was a broker a long time. Anyway, broker's assistant and working your way up through the sort of corporate ladder. The SEC was a joke, and they never did anything. They were just a total mouthpiece. In fact, I remember this one older gentleman. I think his name was Levitt. I want to say that name, but I could be wrong there. Anyway, the guy never did anything. He like literally never did anything. And I think what's happening here in our society is, and I think this happens basically on a century long basis, is you go through periods where, and unfortunately, I think it is a direct result of the interest rate cycle, that 80-year interest rate money cycle. But you go through periods where the demographics are in favor of a strong economy, and of course tax flows are very positive, and liabilities, things like Social Security, Medicare, whatever the particular government spending program du jour happen to be. We go through this very normal cycle. And unfortunately, we're in the absolute worst part of the cycle right now. So there's an advertisement for you, eh? Yeah, this is the absolute worst time to be in the market. Great. I'll tell you, if you can behave yourself and you can follow the rules, I think you can enjoy very healthy returns. The only problem is that there's very specific sort of seasonality windows when you do have to participate, and you do have to sort of take advantage of the environment. And usually, the end of the year, because of tax loss selling reasons, our prices get artificially pushed down. Here's the crypto total market cap you see into the end of the year. Very typical. This is tax related reasons for people acting in the marketplace. I've always told people, and half of this broadcast is supposed to be me sort of karmically giving back for free into this universe. So the only thing I can possibly do to sort of give back to the universe, of course, try and be the best dad I can possibly be for Liam, which is not easy. But just try and, in part, I've been at this silly game for like 30 plus years. There are a few things that I've learned over the years, and I like doing these videos. I'm, fairly verbose. And I just like dropping nuggets of wisdom. And if you have notepads and journals, everybody should have their journal out. Journaling about how you feel. What do you see in the market? Did you learn anything? Are your emotions dictating your behavior? I mean, you really got to write that stuff down. But anyway, while you're watching these videos, especially, I try to do this fairly regularly once a week with the public. You should write little nuggets of wisdom down that the Beamish spits out. And I can absolutely tell you, number one nugget of wisdom, if anybody does anything in the market that's based on tax reasons, I can absolutely guarantee you it's probably not the right investment decision. So, I was just making a reference there a moment ago in North America, actually Europe as well. We have a tax deadline for booking capital losses for your income tax purposes, so you don't have to pay so much in capital gains if you happen to have enjoyed some capital gains through the year. We have this window right here, the end of the year. 9 times out of 10, you come into the end of the year, prices are extremely weak, and I even remember putting out videos and stuff on social media and stuff saying, get your shit together. Just get your act together if you want to make money from trading. I mean, if you just want to be sort of part of the pump crowd and, I'm going to buy whatever, remember how those lunatics went and all that, and just be sort of mindless zombies. And if the market just keeps moving higher, great, you look like a genius. If the market gets wiped out, well, see you later. If you actually are here to make money from trading and you're trying to learn and you're trying to, how do you say this? Quit making excuses and actually take personal ownership for your behavior, what you're doing in the marketplace and how you're making money. Are you actually making money? Be perfectly truthful. Something that you should always write down, always note, it's religion. If the market is driven by somebody who's doing something for tax purposes, then it's probably the wrong investment decision. And I got to tell you, right across, this is an image of the total crypto market cap. So this isn't even just Bitcoin or any particular story. And you can clearly see here, right into the end of the year, I mean, if anything, Chris, this should probably be a really good short. Those like 5-minute clips that you do, 5-10-minute clips. I mean, that lecture right there, it's worth its weight in gold. And you can see the proof of the pudding's in the eating. I had another gentleman say, "Oh, geez, you got to do those replay things." Oh, you can't do it on this total, jerks. Of course, Murphy's Law. Anyway, if you could do it, right, we'd just say, there's the end of the year, and then hit the play button on like 5 times speed and just watch. Do, 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 do. Up goes price. The only problem is that now, and actually, let's see if there's anybody even on YouTube. Oh, there's a couple people. Nure. Oh, you're so awesome. Hope the bodybuilding's going well. I vicariously lived through your weightlifting. Dimitri. Hello, Dimitri. I think I'm pronouncing your name right. If I'm not, I apologize. Nick. Hi, Nick. Hey, there's Josh Morris. Hey, Coach Chicken Brian. All right. Coach Chicken Brian. That doesn't resonate very well. Gotta think of a better name than that. The Broiler Chickens instead of Marshmallow Peeps. Oh, boy. Okay. Special place in heaven for you, good sir. Thank you for all. Fuck, man. Talal, I fucking hope so. I hope to God when I get on the other side, I can see JoJo again. Try and... She made an incredible investment in me just because she's such a sweetheart. God, I remember, we were together 18 years. And God, I remember some years I would just say, look at, we're doing this for the career. Just hang in there. Yeah, I know this is a shitty apartment, but just, let's just get through this year. And, and she just unblinkingly followed me. Oh, I miss you, sweetie. So, hope that special place, she's sitting there waiting and we can get together again. Mind you, she might be off in the next life. Who knows? Anyway, thank you, Talal. I appreciate you think that I'm doing a half-decent job for all you people. See, let's go, says DMAC. Zonk. How am I supposed to pronounce that? It says hi. DMAX says, yep, we here. Cutter, hey, Cutter. Cutter took a dump on me here, it looks like. And Richard says, hi, Brian. Hello, Richard. Hope you're doing well today. So to finish that thought, and of course, Chris is like, how am I supposed to do the short if you go off on one of these tangents? But, we're not at the end of the year anymore, are we? We're kind of getting late. This is a very typical seasonal rally. Nothing really out of the ordinary here. But what are we supposed to do when we see this? How does it go? Something in May and something. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, the good part about it is most of the people that I speak to in this audience you're kind of like, it's like preaching to the converted. So I have no idea whether we can resolve bullishly through this. I just happen to have on a couple cute little potential sort of head and shoulders as patterns. It would be nice, if anything, what we really want to see is give us a nice close up top here. The only problem is if we pop up through the top here, we're just going to pop into these resistance lines. So you might find, and actually this is a really good analogy of, anyway, I'll just say it. Look left where, if we do start popping up into here, where's the next resistance line? Well, you can see it's right there. Let's make this yellow so you can actually see it. There we go. So right there. Next one's right there. Next one's right there. So a whole bunch of resistance just above us here. It's going to be a bit of a slog. And I don't know whether we are going to break down here. It's always dangerous to assume. They always say assuming makes an ass out of you and me. So I think it's dangerous to assume that we have broken down here. I don't see any evidence here of a breakdown yet. But at the same time, too, does it make a lot of sense to come in and bring new money to work here in the marketplace at these levels? I don't know. I'm a little bit leery. One person I will say, Ben, I'm so proud of him. Such a rock star. Love how he's matured as an investor. Educated market participant. On his Litecoin, it put in a really nice bottom here, and then it had a really sharp dip against that low. and he went in like a boss and bought the Litecoin, which is, kind of what you need to do to survive, to like win at this game. Is when they're crying, this big dump down into here, Ben, of course, stepped up and pulled the trigger on that event. Way to go, Ben. You are the rock star. In fact, and there was another gentleman that I used to work with years ago who basically did exactly the same thing this particular cycle. And ironically enough, it's just everything that we teach you guys. So really they just turn around and say, well, I'm just doing what you told me to do, Brian. So I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but hey, thanks. But a gentleman, actually, I do still see him on the site. So it is nice to see that he is still popping back in on the site every once in a while. But I think if I'm not mistaken, he came in and bought this level down in here, this 88.6, like a boss. Oh my goodness. But just sort of that same kind of thinking, when they're crying, of course, the public's freaking out. The pros are actually stepping in and buying, and if you had just put yourself on a dollar cost averaging plan and just started accumulating, and maybe you got a little here, maybe a little here, maybe a little here, maybe a little here, whatever. I mean, how would you have felt 6 months later? Proof of the pudding's in the eating, eh? I think you'd be a relative, even now, right? Because this is basically the old breakout high. So, geez, even now you'd look like a total boss, even if you had done absolutely nothing there. So, I'm a little bit leery, well, I'm a little bit country and a little bit rock and roll too, but that's another conversation. But if we start looking, you can say I haven't loaded up this image in a while, but if we start looking at things like reload zones, well, you can see where they are. So I'm just a bit concerned. It's not necessarily like we're broken down or we're heading down. I mean, we do look very, very toppy, don't get me wrong. But I'm just worried about new people coming into this space and buying up here, and then do you have the patience and discipline? If you really want to buy and you got that money sitting in your pocket, it's just really a question of what price you're going to pay. And by definition, that's going to tell you how much Bitcoins you're going to be able to buy with your money. I mean, maybe it would be a good idea just to wait until you actually hear some panic. I'll tell you, those panic dumps, if it's one thing I have absolutely can guarantee you, I've been at this silly game in Bitcoin now. For the better part of 10 years. I first started studying Bitcoin in 2013. So yeah, it will be 10 years as of this fall. One thing I can absolutely guarantee you is there will always be both upside and downside volatility in this thing. It's pretty much guaranteed, right? It's an unregulated space. So in unregulated spaces, oh boy, be careful. And you can very easily create a trading plan. I only buy Bitcoins when I see prices collapsing and somebody says Bitcoin's going to zero. That is my official window to start accumulating Bitcoins. And I distinctly remember, Chris, do you remember? There were people back here in November, December that were talking about Bitcoin going off the board. I don't know. Do you remember that? Anyway, Chris is with me here on the call.
Somewhat. I do remember people saying that the Bitcoin wasn't coming back or going to recover at that point. Yep.
Also, we started hearing talks about 51% attack, which I thought was a bit premature. Up here around, 17,000, even 15,000. I thought it was premature, but nonetheless, there's another thing. Write it down. If you've got your journals out, just write this shit down, people. This is exactly why I'm doing all this. Whenever you hear people starting to talk about 51% attacks, odds are we're far closer to a bottom than we are the top. I don't hear anybody talking about 51% attack now. Do you, Chris? You hear anybody talking about 51% attack?
No, none whatsoever. Nope.
Yeah, so it's pretty cliche, really. So, that image should speak to you. And this is sort of the message that I kind of wanted to convey there's the 30-minute. I don't want to get into that with these free videos because this stuff's up and down like a horror's drawers here. What do I want to show you? I guess over here. And actually, really what I wanted to show was the tweet. Yeah. So we got Mount Gox, if I understand correctly. Mount Gox is finally going to start releasing coins, if I'm not mistaken. This thing blew up in 2014. In fact, I remember some of the original people that were on the site got caught up in this, and they're still waiting for their coins to be returned to them. Okay, 142,000 Bitcoins. Oh boy. I thought I was hearing that there was some sort of resolution to this coming up fairly soon. March 9th, 2000, largest creditor being just to hold. Anyway, so you can look into that if you happen to have had coins on Gox. That'd be funny. I mean, that would be an interesting sort of twist of fate. I know one gentleman in particular who's probably, if they ever do release his coins, he's like an instant probably billionaire now. But anyway, we'll see what happens with him. So there's this. This is definitely looming. There's Mr. Gensler. I don't know whether I've spelt his name correctly or not. I'm sure I haven't. But anyway, as I had sort of talked about earlier, I remember a guy, I think his name was Arthur Levitt, was the SEC chairman, and he let the market get away with all of the corruption around the U.S. Remember the great financial crisis? The corruption heading into that was ridiculous. All the credit rating agencies were all on the take. It was, and interestingly enough, with this latest banking fiasco, there was a gentleman that basically shorted Silicon Valley Bank and shorted Silvergate, and I think he wanted to short FTX. I'm not sure if he did or not. But, he was even saying the same thing. He went to the news outlets to try and talk about this problem developing in the crypto space and the outright fraud of some of these people. And, the news agency said, well, if we actually follow this sort of vein of conversation, we'll actually lose customers, and that means we lose revenue, which means our shareholders and the basically the stockholders who own these media companies will be upset because we're not growing our earnings, so we can't report the truth. That's pathetic. What a society we're living in, eh? I mean, pathetic. So now all of a sudden this guy's got religion? What the hell's going on here? I mean, I might argue that the half of the reason why crypto is as corrupt as it is, and keep in mind, everybody watching this video should understand full well what Brian thinks of crypto. This is what Brian thinks of crypto. I mean, I don't mean to be rude, but unless it's a POW story, and you can actually demonstrate to me how there's value behind your coin, it's all just a fugazi. It's really just a question of who's the last guy holding the bag. And usually, of course, the last guy holding the bag is the public, which is a shame because I've seen cycle after cycle after cycle. Right now is the time when you actually should be acquiring all these cryptocurrencies, whether it be Bitcoin or I don't know. I mean, prices are getting a little expensive now, so I don't necessarily think like today's prices really, but like through 2023. In fact, and this is the great part about it. This is yet another free resource that TRI has, our blog. And the gentleman who writes this blog, I think he does a fantastic job. You could make the argument that basically there are a lot of reasons to be accumulating risk assets here in 2023. The interesting thing is considering, where we are in the actual decades, would it have been a good idea to load up on Bitcoins in 2013? I mean, you all know the answer to that, but whether it be political, whether it be Wyckoff and what market bottoms look like, whether it be, I mean, it's just the 4-year cycles of Bitcoin. And this is why I pulled up the blog itself. This is I think probably the most compelling image. And I don't think a lot of people in the public even understand this, that actually these cycles are stunningly cliche. They're very, very predictable. It's just they're predictable on like a 4-year time horizon. And I don't know, Chris, help me out here. What are you doing in September of 2024? Be quick. I need to know right now. What are you doing in September 2024?
Liquidating.
That you are? I will still be long. So anyway, that's interesting that was his answer. The point that I was gonna make, what I was trying to make, was that, and remember, I was a broker, so that, I mean, like, half of my job was just simply to try and keep people out of trouble. And I would ask all my clients, do you really know what you're doing? Wall Street always says you have to have a 3 to 5 year time horizon because of exactly this image. I mean, the irony of it all is that this isn't any different than any stock image. It's just this happens to be an asset that has a very, very predictable sort of reset button every 4 years. It's shockingly predictable how this works. So the point of the matter here is this was the first cycle that I got involved in. I kind of think that this cycle is this cycle. Obviously, history never repeats itself exactly. We never did have a Willy bot that took price ridiculously high, but it's interesting. Right at this point where my mouse is, I don't know whether you can see that or not. Right here, this is when, of course, this is GOX. And I think half of the reason why GOX did what it did was because of this thing called the Willy bot that took off and just cranked prices to insane levels. And I don't even think Roly Poly Oly even could conceive of Bitcoin going up to like $1,000 a coin. But this is a really good analogy of the investment process, because I remember distinctly right at this peak right here, Bitcoin was sitting at about $1,100, and Goldman Sachs came out with a recommendation to buy Bitcoins at $1,100. How did that go over the coming year? I mean, it was a terrible recommendation. But remember, they always put in the fine print of these things. You have to have an investment time horizon of 3 to 5 years. So how did buying Bitcoin at $1,100 3 to 5 years later, 2014, 5 years later, it's 2019, and there you see Bitcoin 2018. It worked its way all the way up to 20 G's. And anybody who bought at $1,000 and they saw a price was $20,000, I'm sure they were very, very happy. So here we are again. I wouldn't necessarily, if anything, what I would say is you probably had a lot of sort of the investment houses and stuff come out, like kind of that Michael Saylor guy. I mean, he must be just dying 1,000 deaths right now. But of course, he came up and just loaded up there at like 50, 60 G's, eh? And from what I understand, actually, like BlackRock is heavily long his micro strategies. It'd be interesting to see what their position looks like. I bet you they're getting killed. And Vanguard also is a heavy shareholder of the micro strategies, so I bet you they're getting killed there too. I would be willing to bet a lot of the sort of grown-ups in the space, they're actually pretty pissed off at crypto. Well, yeah, there's El Salvador. Eh? Jesus, that guy. So, the irony of it all is we really need, if we could just get this damn message out about our education program, and we actually could get people doing this game correctly, God, we would change the world. Like literally countries, would be far, far better off if they just understood the basics of what the rules of playing this game are. It's quite remarkable, really. Don't quite understand it. So speaking of which, actually, that's not a bad segue. We've got a new school term coming up. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. Shill, 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 shill. Anyway, we do have a raffle for a school seat. So if you're watching this and you're kind of down on your luck, maybe pop on this page. I think, Chris, you put this in the descriptions, right? So we go look in the links in the descriptions below and pop your name in here. And you never know, you might win the raffle and we can change your life. And the gentleman who runs our stock pickers club every Tuesday, David, he won our very first raffle. And what is that? That's like 8 years ago, and the guy's like a total boss trader now. So yeah, that could be you. So anyway, point here is new school term starts in about, well, you can see a little less than a month. Our level 1 instructor, Wookie Grimm, was actually on the call on our after party call on Friday. So if you want to sort of get to know our level 1 instructor a little bit, you can always pop on the site. We have a 30-day trial. You can kick the tires a little bit, maybe see if this community is to your liking. And his specials were actually, he was on both this past Friday and the Friday previous. So that was a good conversation we had with Grim, and actually we're all getting excited. I really like, I'm really excited about this My Forex Funds. I think that's what it was called, right, Chris?
That's right. Forex funds. Yep.
Yeah, it's a prop firm. And I used to work at prop firms, so it's not really that big of a stretch. If anything, probably the biggest thing about prop firms is just the psychological test. Because if you can make it and actually you're deemed, hey, you are acceptable, that's a huge hurdle for new people to trading to overcome. But the good part about that platform, Grim was telling us, is that you can actually take your payout in crypto, which I thought was super cool. I used to, there's another firm that we often send people to, Top Step Trader. I really like them, and I love the guys that are the veterans, Johnny Hoagland. Actually, I haven't been over to watch Johnny in the mornings too much lately. But they're just, they're typical. I don't know. I trade the S&P 500. In fact, I think Hogue calls Bitcoin's beach balls. So, not really your most active crypto enthusiasts over there, but nonetheless. If you feel like it, come on over. But Grim was telling us a little bit about, I watched his videos. He was telling us a little bit about the My Forex funds. And actually, I think Chris and I'd like to get Chris, and I'll do it with him. And the registration fee for the prop firm tryout is pennies. It's like, I don't know, $80 or something. Just doing Chris's opening range trade, Monday to Friday. We'll pick like maybe one. I think I feel comfortable just picking one market. Like I'll do crude, and just taking every single opening range trade for the next month and a half, and just see what happens. My hunch is you probably get funded. It's a pretty simple setup, and Chris is actually very good at it. So anyway, the point being that I think we have a pretty darn good staff here. The gentleman, I mean, you could easily make the argument now that every single person on our staff has at least 10 years experience trading now. Grim, like I said, he was actually with me. I remember he was on, we used to, 10 years ago, talk Bitcoin on TradingView's platform here in their chat room. It gets a little spicy over here, so I don't really participate too much on this site. I suppose we could probably go in and say hello, but I don't really do it that often because we've got the rational investors community. But anyway, Sharktoshi, yeah, I think he and I've been working together easily a good 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Marat, God, Marat. I remember Marat pushing me up a bridge because I'm a big fat lazy ass on a bicycle back in 2017, 2018, somewhere in there. So what's that? Geez, that alone's 5 years ago. Zach, of course, we've been working together for a long time, and he wants me to come out and do a real estate deal with him out in Hawaii. I'd love to do that. But anyway, actually, Zach's got a couple really interesting projects coming up. We've already hit the capacity for his upcoming term. He is doing a spreads module, if you will. And we want to do sort of a pilot project, and we don't really want too many students. It is interesting. Some people are already saying they want to register for the fall and the winter. But so we have had his spring term, the 3.5 for spread trading, fully set up. And if anything, come on the site and watch Zach's presentation in the daily brief to learn more about that. But I'll tell you, it's an excellent dovetail to sort of our introduction to options. And if you are interested in options, I think Zach and Joe have put together a really cool program. Zach primarily, but anyway. All right, so let's get back to the on topic. There was my shill. If you are a TRI alumni, these people are all alum. They've already passed all the level 3 exams and etc. That program's open to you guys. It's a dovetail. I don't like teaching options to noobs. Very, very dangerous options. I've seen too many heartaches. In fact, I've actually seen, just in the time that I've been running this website, I saw a young gentleman who didn't really understand what he was getting involved in, committed suicide trading options. That's how bad options trading can be. So I don't like talking about trading options with the public, and I really won't mention it too much here. The only reason why I did mention it was because alum do watch these weekend videos, and if you are interested in doing some more work on options and spread trading and you've already gone through the program, then Zach's got a nice dovetail program that he put together, and I'm super excited about it. Really, really interesting. In fact, he even wants to try and connect options spreads with the algo that we built on the site. And I tell you, this algo sure has kept you out of a lot of heartache and pain in the butt over the past month or two, because, you know, as I've sort of pointed out in the public tweets, Bitcoin's basically doing nothing right now. 3 weeks of doji. The good part about this, and that's probably what this pullback is that when charts do look like this, we got a lot of moving average support. We have a lot of price support. We still have some fairly juicy upside objectives that really should be traded to. It is interesting how just off of this range in particular, 38.2 has sort of stopped us here. I still like the idea of us working our way up into this 30.2 of the entire range. I just don't know whether we have to wait until maybe the summer to see something like that, or maybe even later on, maybe even next year. So I guess just the point I was trying to make was that the breadth indicator actually turned negative here back in March 20th. And I'm running one particular trading plan that all it does is it just takes a bought here, sold here, and as you went back. Sometimes when we go through these sort of consolidations, if you will, you get like multiple signals, and it's such a pain in the butt. But, you know, that's an algo trader's life. Get used to it. What you're really looking for here is you want to be positioned correctly, and then the big volatility event happens and price moves egregiously, and you capture that move. And you don't really even mind if you're an algo trader. You don't even really mind getting stopped out for like minuscule losses back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. What you're really looking for is I want to be in if we get a big pop to the upside. I want to be short or out. In this particular case, this one's not running shorts. It's just either long or on the sidelines. But you want to be, on the sidelines if there's some sort of big dump that happens. And then, of course, you come back in and buy against the lows. So right now, the algo has just been like, there's just not much to do here. It's big, hurry up and do nothing. As I said, there is your weekly chart. What does 3 weeks of doji look like? Well, it looks exactly like what we're seeing right now. If we zoom in on the daily chart, this 3 weeks of doji, this is happening at a really technically unattractive place. I always say you should have, and really, I got to say, this is a great screenshot for your journals. 3 reasons to justify taking a trade. And I always like the reasons to be unrelated. If you have 3 different momentum indicators like an RSI, a MACD, and a Williams percentage R, well, technically that's just one reason. That's price momentum. Here, in this particular case, and this is what I like to teach new people to trading, if you can try and get into this habit, I think it's a very, very good habit to get into. And of course, the most important thing here is we're trying to make money from trading. So if we can get into the habits that set up the highest statistical probability trades, then if you're taking trades and you follow best practices, good habits, then, the odds of you winning go up substantially. So how does it look? Well, usually we want to always start with location. And if you're right in the middle of a big breakout, I don't know where the best place to show you this is. If I just pull up maybe like one of these Schultz coins, maybe. Oh, even down here. This is Bitcoin. If we're down here and we just came all the way down here, is this a good location to be thinking about going short? Probably not. If you want to write this down, words of wisdom, we want to try and be selling against the top ends of ranges and buying against the bottom ends of ranges. We want to be like the institutional players. That's in simplest terms. Markets at the bottom end of the range, you don't really want to be hunting shorts. And of course, the proof of the pudding's in the eating. You can see how the market's worked its way back up off of those lows. Now, can we consider maybe shorts? Well, interestingly enough, now we're no longer at the bottom end of the trading range. Now we're kind of, if we start looking at this, what is this? In fact, I used to work with this guy, and it was so cliche. Every single time I talked to him, I'd always have a stock that I'd pitching. Oh, hey, what do you like? And I'd be like, oh, I like this stock. And he'd go, okay, what's the 52-week range? What's the 52-week high? What's the 52-week low? All right, so it's near the bottom end of the range. Okay, that's good. What's the 90-day high? What's the 90-day low? Okay, so it's near the bottom end of the 90-day range. What's the 180-day high? What's the 180-day low? So basically, it's like 1 year, 6 months, 90 days, 3 months. And if I gave him an idea that it's at the bottom of the 1-year range, bottom of the 180-day range, bottom of the 90-day range, he'd be like, oh shit, I gotta buy that. He wouldn't. And this is like old-timer floor trader guy. This guy used to actually be a floor trader on the Vancouver Stock Exchange before they shut it down. And all of those guys, they all got scurried up into the offices, and so I was able to work with them in the offices upstairs. But Chris, he was a fantastic guy for market information. In fact, he was the one who taught me the VCIM model. Rolled back stock, shares for debt, options to directors, show me a W and buy the damn thing. Anyway, so point of the matter here, if we look at the 90-day range, would Chris be interested in buying an asset we're a 90-day range, we're at the top end of the range? No. Nope. And interestingly enough, if we look at like this 6-month range, where here's May, so there's April, so we're still, in fact, we're not even near the bottom end of the 1-year range. We're almost basically at the 50% level of this 1-year range. But like 180 days, what would that be? Where are we here? We're April, so October. Oh, Jesus. We're near the top end of that 180-day range. And then, like I said, 90-day range, yeah, we're near the top end of that range. So, from old gnarly trader dude's perspective, this is a horrible place to buy. How many people on YouTube are going to say that? This is a horrible place to buy. And you got to go up an octave when you hit the horrible. Like somebody's grabbing you by the short and curlies. Oh, goodness. You want me to buy here? What are you, crazy? Oh, goodness. So, I don't know. Take it for whatever it's worth. So, where was I? I was talking about that daily chart. You can see the megaphone that's drawn on here, right? And the cool part about it is TradingView gives you all these cool little tools, right? So I can put a little megaphone right here. And hopefully everybody sees what does a megaphone look like. Well, looks something along those lines. And that was that tweet that I put out, wherever it is. I think this was it. Yeah. So there's your megaphone. There's the top. There's the bottom. And actually, I've told you guys this repeatedly on these public broadcasts. By the way, if you're enjoying the comic stylings of Mr. Beamish, and also Chris every once in a while throws a comment in, could you please hit the like button? Maybe subscribe to the channel, ring the little bell. I think that's at the top of your screen to be notified when these videos come on. And actually, we do a fairly regular broadcast. So, 10:30 on Sundays and then 9 o'clock Monday to Friday. Of course, Thursdays, it's always debatable when we get this thing going, but I'll leave that conversation for another day. Point being that, what the hell was the point? What was I talking about, Chris? Let's see if he was paying attention, because I'm not. Oh, yeah, something about don't buy. Oh, this is a horrible location.
Higher octaves, short and curlies. That's what I remember.
Anyway, so this is your daily chart. We looked at the weekly chart. Remember, there's 3 dojis in a row. That's dangerous, 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 right? Oh yeah, I was talking about hit the like button and subscribe and ring the bell so you're notified when the next video happens. And we do videos on a very regular basis, so when you get the notification, you pretty much know that there's a video coming up fairly shortly. And I do see actually, on a regular basis, we have quite a few people that are sitting waiting for the show to start. All right, so here we are on our daily chart. We're sitting at the top of the megaphone. I think I've talked to you guys about this before. This is actually a really good... I'm sure there's probably somebody on YouTube that's done a setup off of this. I know a megaphone can also be called an expanding wedge. Oh yeah, look at them all. So... And what'll kill you is you'll go on these sites, and everybody, of course, now is an expert, and they've got all YouTube videos and the whole damn thing. And they will still call tails wicks, which drives me crazy. And then there's even somebody on YouTube now, of course, going, Brian, who cares? Let them call it whatever they want. It's like, if you've ever... if you've ever been like a professional at any sort of occupation or sport or anything, and somebody miscalls something that's pretty obvious, it picks you. It just drives you crazy. So anyway, what am I trying to say here? Broadening formation. There's another example of the wedge. Yeah, there. I mean, this is the classic megaphone pattern. And usually what ends up happening is you get pretty interesting trade setups on the third tag of whatever the side is. I think you could maybe make an argument there was a nice little buy. In fact, actually, this might even be the Bitcoin price chart. And unfortunately, when you get up top here, this now becomes a short trade setup location. So megaphones, I used to work with one guy years and years ago, TRIer. He was like, your bot trade, it's 3-to-1 risk reward? Okay. Your L Tango Naders are like 2.5 to 1. That's a waste of my time. Megaphones usually are, geez, 3 to 1, 4 to 1, 5 to 1 sometimes risk reward ratios, and you can kind of see that setting up. This is the top of the megaphone. This has been a hell of a battle up here. I even put out tweets and stuff off the lower time frames saying that's this kind of image right here, the 4 hour chart, which I suppose we can talk about in a bit, but it's basically the same conversation. That if we start closing below this 27,533, which makes sense, because 27,500, that's a very powerful psychological level. Above it, we're kind of doing the 27,500 to 30,000 range. And I think that's basically what the market's doing right now. Below it, then we're 25,000 to 27,500. So psychologically, this makes sense. It's very normal. Think of almost like, what's the best way to describe this? They used to trade, and actually, this would be interesting because it is Bitcoin. What is a bit? Do any of you even know what a bit is? So this is actually a piece of historical trivia for you here. So not only do you get awesome setups and trading rules, you also get a little bit of history when you listen to Brian. So do you even know what a quote-unquote bit is, regardless of the coin, just B-I-T? Most people don't. But it turns out, you've probably heard the expression, shave and a haircut, 2 bits. What the hell is 2 bits? And why 2 bits?
I was
Well,
thinking in terms of technology, where 8 bits is a byte.
it's close. And there's probably a reason why it's along those lines. But currency, especially like 500 years ago, currency was basically like gold and silver. And it's actually interesting because, and they're going off on a tangent here. I'll probably waste a bunch of time. But this might be worth noting, Chris. But I put out recently, I was over the top impressed with James Grant, of course, Grant's interest rate observer. If you're a hard money person and you like the history of money and really understanding these 80-year money cycles and the way the whole sort of evolution of laissez-faire economics versus central planning and Keynesian economics, which, and then of course austerity versus Keynesian economics, that schools back and forth. Unfortunately, I think in our world nowadays, we don't really do any strict either one or the other. Everybody will say that we live in a Keynesian world, but we don't. We live in a outright fraud world. We live in a emperor's new clothes world. We live in an ants and grasshoppers world where everybody in the world is a grasshopper. And I actually even heard a direct reference yesterday. This was a really cool interview. This right here. So here's another one. I love going through YouTube and just listening to these guys. Obviously, these guys are heavily crypto oriented, but they had on a guest, and this guy, ooh-wee, is he smart as a whip. And he was even making the direct reference to how everybody in our society is a grasshopper now. Well, not everybody. I know I'm not a grasshopper, but then, I get all angry at the way that these stupid fucking socialists just, diluting the purchasing power of our currency because everybody is a grasshopper. Anyway, he made a direct reference. I think this is his name, Jim Bianco. I could be wrong. I'll post this in the in the rooms. Yeah, in the lounge. Do yourself a favor and watch this. I only got through about half of it because remember, like I said, I was doing my taxes. I needed to watch a little bit of this just to clear the air a little bit. But anyway, he made direct reference to the fact that the reason why Powell is so adamant about getting inflation under control is that he knows that Joe Sixpack can only, I think he said something like they're all living paycheck to paycheck. Maybe has maybe $500 saved to his name, her name, houseplant's name. And the most important thing is this populace, this 300 million of us, in sort of the Western civilization, probably I guess maybe a better part of a billion if you include Europe. Nobody has any money. They're all living paycheck to paycheck. And if you have runaway inflation, the society's dead. Because in essence, there is no wage power here whatsoever. And it's like I think he was saying that if you have real wage growth at 5%, but you have inflation at 6%, then that means the population's basically taking 1% a year pay cut. And they don't have any money. They don't have any savings. So you want a potion for revolution? That's a really easy way to do it. And keep in mind, if you have 1% negative real wage growth, what is the impact on things like your groceries, and fuel for your car and that kind of stuff? Usually those numbers are going up like gangbusters in that kind of environment. So there's a reason why we're in this absolute insane mess that we're in right now. And it's simply because everybody's grasshoppers. Nobody saves money for a rainy day. It doesn't exist. Yeah, ironically enough, the only people that really have sort of bought into this are the people that are saving money through things like Bitcoin. Maybe avoid saving your money just in cash, but saving your money in Bitcoins, obviously, those people have been rewarded handsomely. So anyway, okay, so where were we? I totally got off on a tangent there. Don't even remember how I got on that. But anyway. So 27,500 to 30,000, it actually seems realistic. And interestingly enough, on this 4-hour chart, nothing's actually really broken down. We did have sort of like a head fake move by social media and crypto influencer that I don't know whether it was done intentionally or whether it was accident. My hunch is probably more intention than accident. But obviously, if you don't know, then you don't know. I think that did trigger this big M top, which from a purist perspective, this is very important information. The market was pointing higher and it had a real head of steam behind it, but you can kind of see how we're kind of floundering now. Having said that, we haven't really broken down per se. And I think probably solid candle closes below these levels. And then if we go back to that daily chart, right, if we actually get like daily closes below this big smile, then I think, you can pretty much be confident that we have broken down. Interestingly enough, and, like I said to start off with, we do have trade location. The second reason that I like for you to kind of consider if you're going to follow sort of the 3-step setup process that we teach at TRI is I'd like for you to have some sort of indicator confirmation that your thesis going one way or the other is correct. So this particular case, this is one indicator that I built. It's a modified Williams percentage R indicator that actually works really well at telling me when markets are overbought. And you can see in this particular case, the yellow line was right up at the top end of the range and price had to come off. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a short. It just means that probably not a good idea to be a buyer when you see this indicator look like this. It's probably going to be better prices for you to pay down the road. Notice the indicator actually puts in a little bottom here. And we headed right back up. Well, as you can see, we did get overbought again. This yellow line did get up into this above -20 area, what I like to call stupid. on this particular indicator, which we call the Willy. And you can see that it is slowly rolling over M's, right? M's are usually bearish, right? Whenever we see the market smiling at us, you can say the indicator is smiling at you. That's usually not a good sign. And then also, too, you look at it and you go, gee whiz, if Bitcoin was such a great deal here, and there were so many people buying and selling Bitcoins here, why is there nobody buying here? Like, where did everybody go? We're only traded 400 Bitcoins yesterday. We've only done 300 Bitcoins today. I would say that if we have a green bar that's lower than this low in here, I think you actually get a message that the bulls have fallen asleep. Explain this in more detail in our education program, what that means. And you can see we had a green bar yesterday, an up bar, that basically was lower than those lows. I think the bulls have fallen asleep. At the same time, too, red bars, got to sneeze. Oh, just one. All right. Red bars, 1, 2, 3. We got a red bar lower than these lows. It means the bears have fallen asleep. And sure enough, there's a red bar below those bars. So it's like basically the entire world has completely lost interest in Bitcoin. So I guess, and really it's not necessarily that it's lost interest in actually spending money. And actually going and either buying Bitcoins here at $28,000 a piece, or actually dusting off your Bitcoins and actually selling them into the marketplace. Why? Well, I think there's a number of fundamental events coming up here, and I get the impression it's almost like everybody's just waiting. I think that we've got, as I had said there earlier, we've got the Mt. Gox coins that could potentially come out of cold storage. And I mean, geez, if you had 1,000 of these coins at $27,000 a piece, and you've been waiting 10 years, and all of a sudden you got your 1,000 Bitcoins credited to your account, and let's say you're living in a one-bedroom apartment, maybe still in mom's basement, are you tempted to maybe liquidate a few of those Bitcoins and go and buy yourself a pretty damn good hacienda? I don't know. I think there's probably a few motivated sellers out there that $27,000 when they bought the Bitcoins on Mt. Gox at like $100, $200 a piece or something forever ago. Talk about a forced savings plan, eh? What a perfect forced savings plan. But would you be tempted to maybe let a few of those go? I think so. And I've been willing to bet there's a lot of people that are looking at the price right now going, well, if these are kids with 140,000 Bitcoins are about to dump them, well, geez, I'm not going to go and buy in the face of that. I'm just going to get run over. As I said, little Mr. Lord Font, what was it? I remember when I was a kid, there was always a really fun little reference that they always made. A guy who just thinks he's just the absolute shit, but he's not really that important, and he's kind of small. You ever watch the Shrek movies, right? The bad
Lord
guy.
Farnsworth. Yeah, I remember that
Farnsworth?
guy.
All right, you remember him, eh?
Yeah.
Right. So I get the impression this Gensler guy is very similar to that Lord Farnsworth. He used to, when I was a kid, his name used to be Lord Fauntleroy or
Might be
something.
Farquaad. I might have gotten that one.
Farquaad? Yeah, okay, that could be.
Yeah.
That was from Shrek.
Lord
But,
Farquaad. Yeah, that's the Shrek guy.
I think historically there was some famous book, and the guy's name was Lord Fauntleroy or something like that. And I think that's where they took that reference from. But anyway, so the point here is this guy just, like I said earlier, I remember Arthur Levitt. I mean, the guy sat there at the head of the SEC, and he did nothing through the whole dot-com boom, and there were horrendous scandals, pets.com. AOL merger, and then AOL was basically worthless. Time Warner got totally screwed over. There were so many deals. The Kozlowskis of the world. Google him if you want a funny story about Tyco International. Bernie Madoff. Well, yeah, everybody knows Bernie Madoff. That's an easy one. Bernie Ebbers. That was a really funny scandal with WorldCom and him cooking the books there. And yet the SEC did absolutely nothing. So now all of a sudden, this guy's like, oh, well, yeah, yeah, and fucking Skeletor there in the White House is like, well, the IRS needs 80,000 new agents so we can all just shit on you. So I get the impression it's sort of like we went through sort of the demographic bubble. The tax revenues were great. The economy was earning lots of money, and nobody said boo about the horrendous scandals. Now we're on the other side of the demographic situation. All of the entitlement programs, there's no funding for any of them. If you think you're going to get Social Security when you're old aged, forget about it. I mean, you see what's happening in France right now. That should basically happen right around the Western world. So there's a party for you to think about. And of course, the tax man is going to come and shit on your head any and every opportunity he can because they are just broke. And I get the impression that half of what's going on here with things like the SEC coming down hard on crypto is governments are broke. Governments have, substitute drama teachers or skeletons who are shaking hands with ghosts that are at the helm. They're basically the puppets of people like Granny and Chappelle and all these bankster crooks that have basically forced us into this sort of perpetual slavery for the, there was a tweet that somebody put out that sort of basically summarizes our society so nicely now that I think actually it was Shartoshi that originally commented on it. I don't know where, right here, this right here. This is such a good example of our society now, right? So my parents in their 30s, oh, can we buy a house? Oh, yeah, good. Will it fit both our cars? All that. Me in our 30s now, it's basically complete opposite. And sadly, like I said, I think this actually has to happen about once every 100 years with these humans. It happened, of course, in the 1920s and 1930s. And ultimately their great reset was the 1940s, which is what I think we're in right now with the 2020s. It happened, and this was really good. This was an awesome. I was so happy that I watched this article by Mr. Grant, because Mr. Grant here, he likes the history of money, and of course his publication is called Grant's Interest Rate Observer. I can say very dry, very typical banker kind of talk. Of course, most of the videos on these things are about things like playing video games and stuff. But this is what I like to watch for fun. Brian's a little bit of a weirdo, but anyway, this was a conversation about actually one of the first editors at large of The Economist magazine. Very dry read. Oh my God, boring as hell. But anyway, James's hero, I always forget his name. Anyway, the original editor of The Economist. And so many parallels because in essence, his heyday was the 1850s, 1860s, 1870s. And I would make the argument that the banking crises that we're going through now are exactly the same as what he talked about with his hero through the 1850s and 1860s. And I would make the argument that just like the 1940s, the 1860s were another one of these great resets, just, 80 years prior. And then what was really fascinating about this is he even made a reference to famous economists, like literally centuries-old economist, Mr. Burke, who was an economist who commented on the French Revolution. And the way the French Revolution through that period, that's the 1780s, and ultimately 1790s was when the revolution, off with their heads and all that, that was their cycle's great reset. And the interesting thing is what came out of the back end of all of those quote unquote great resets. Fascinating. World War II, heading into it, despot there in Germany trying to run around, murder everybody. If you go back to the 1860s, interesting how actually many of the modern state nations actually came into power and into being in the 1860s. You could make the argument United States of America sort of came into its modern day form, this union, through the 1860s. Lots of, Italy got its start in 1860s. There's a whole bunch of historical comparisons. In fact, actually, there was even a French dictator, Napoleon. What the hell was his name? Anyway, he was one of the Napoleon. I think he was like Napoleon the Third or something. Anyway, he came into power in the 1850s. Then, of course, like I said, 1780s, and the United States of America came into existence, which of course was something that none of the banksters foresaw coming, and that was a complete shock to them, and they totally got caught with their pants down. So, if anything, one for the good guys there. But, the end result of France's problems in the 1780s, of course, was, good old Napoleon. And running around being totalitarian dictator there at the beginning of the 19th century. And how did you deal with that? So, ironically enough, we walk around in society today thinking about how unique and how special the situation is, and yet here's just a reference going back like 200 years easily. Almost 300 years, where basically every 80 years, there's just one of these resets. So anyway, that was a very long-winded explanation. No idea why I went down that road, but there you go. Okay, so back to our story. Daily charts, trade location, megaphones. And interestingly enough, if we just do a very simple, I'm going to short the M if it does come in. Let's even go on maybe like a clothesline basis, say there. Going to risk to the top of the happy face smile. And hell, you can go off of that level, it doesn't really matter. And I'm going to take profits at the bottom of the megaphone. You can see that's almost like a 2.7 to 1 risk reward. If we start getting M's up here, well, that means you could potentially short that level. And that level right there is the most interesting level, right? There's 27,533 right in there. If you hit that level, then this risk reward number just goes crazy. That would be up there. Well, now we're up to 4 to 1. Just all I'm doing is just shooting for megaphone to megaphone. That wouldn't surprise me. Something along those lines. Of course, 78.6, that's Brian's favorite fib. And actually, interestingly enough, I am seeing a lot of, I don't know whether I can do this or not, but we'll try. What the hell did I name it? Usually, there it is, cost of production. Interestingly enough, we're seeing a lot of sort of the what is value in Bitcoin. Those kind of numbers are coming in now around that 20,000 number. So there's the S19s. I think they're now getting a little bit old technology. They're at 21. S19P, I think that's probably industry standard right now. Notice 17,000 and change. And then all the guys that can't afford it and who could actually get them, and I'm sure the price of them went up and it's pretty scarce, but the S19 XP is sitting at about 11,000, 12,000. So could we get a dump back into the cost of production? Would it freak the market out? Would it actually break Bitcoin? No, actually, I think that would actually be perfectly fine. We're probably going to start getting more talk about potential 51% attacks. We're probably going to talk more about, the Bitcoin mining industry's in trouble. And of course, through all that, we're going to get talk. Oh my goodness, the Bitcoin's going to zero, and then that's that. I mean, obviously, I can't comment on them. Usually, the bears come out at the very end of the down move and start talking like that. But just from a value perspective, there's Brian's favorite fib, 78.6. I'm more than happy to be a buyer down in this area. And if we get down, that's cost of production. That's not outlandish. It really isn't. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is it does have quite a bit of danger associated with it. I do like the idea that, if you were a bull and you came in and you bought where you were supposed to buy, down off of these bottom, especially, our buy signals really were very powerful down in here. Hopefully at this point, you're kind of sitting there going, can I get that final pop up into 31, 32,000, which these, bot targets are suggesting are still active? Because then you can sell half on a double, get yourself a risk-free trade. But those kind of people, they should be laughing right now. And maybe we get a dip down into the 20s or something like that, and that gives them an opportunity to reload. You see this reload zone here, right around 20 Gs. Well, I could see something along those lines. I guess another thing that's kind of bothering me right now, this is more short term. I could see that with all of these sort of catalysts coming up here, the GOX coin still being released, and you might even find that there's actually almost like a initial move up, and then that sort of is almost like a buy the rumor, sell the news kind of event. You never know with this SEC guy. I mean, he could drop the bomb on crypto in the United States and in the sort of the DeFi space and all that, and just totally crap on this space. That's probably not something that's going to happen in the short term, but over the summer, this guy here, he still has to have his trial, and usually these trials go on for a fairly lengthy period of time. I find it very hard to believe that while his trial is going on, I wouldn't even be surprised if the powers that be actually make this a public event and they'll figure out some way that they can actually have this on like public television. So it's like day after day, Bitcoin's a fraud, crypto's a fraud, you're a fraud, yeah, this is all a scam, and then that gives ammunition to this jerk to just keep, stepping on the neck of the crypto kids. I could very easily see this sort of play hand in hand here. I can't see how this is a bullish scenario for Bitcoin. And I definitely can't see it as a bullish scenario for altcoins. So if anything, enjoy the rally while it's lasting. And of course, if we want to look at other names within the space, interestingly enough, if we actually look at things like crypto dominance, I don't actually think it's Bitcoin that's leading the charge here right now. So there is the dominance picture. And somebody on the site kindly reminded me, Brian, that this had to be an alt bat because it was greater than 30, or excuse me, it was less than 38.2. It was 34.5. So I stand corrected. This is not a bat. It's an alt bat. It's for the record. What the hell? But anyway, it's interesting how at this alt bat location, you can kind of see Bitcoin's kind of stalled out here since that last signal that I got from the algo. And I don't know, in a weird sort of way, it's not necessarily just Bitcoin, because this is the entire top 30 names in crypto. I get the whole impression that just everybody's just on pause. They've bid prices up. Stuff is expensive now, but things like Ethereum still have. Oh, look at that! Actually, I got filled on a couple shorts. I wanted to add to that trade that I had on there on the lower time frame. Ooh, wow, big rally. Big rally, big rally. Let's see where they're taking this. Actually, maybe we even have some news that's driving price. This might be interesting to see what happens here. I did have, for whatever it's worth, this is the 30-minute, and I don't really like talking with, like, say, you can see on the 4-hour chart, this is almost like a non-event. But on the 30-minute, it's a bit impressive of a rally here. Anyway, I'm not going to get into 30-minute trading with you guys here in the free video. It moves around so fast. By the time I finish my sentence, the idea will be over. Anyway, so Bitcoin kind of just stalling out here up top here. And so I'm wondering whether like a fundamental like ETH and the Shanghai event, whether this is one reason why price is as firm as it is here. It's not necessarily anything to do with Bitcoin. Shanghai going to release a whole ton, like a lot of Ethereum. So I think as somebody said, it was like 140,000 Ethereums. I don't know whether I have that number exactly right or not. Let's see, where the heck do I have that? Over here. I have 140,000. That was Bitcoin. Beg your pardon. 18 million coins. Holy Shiite Muslim. That's a lot of coins. So does it make sense that price would break ahead of that event? Maybe. I don't know. This might be also another buy the rumor, sell the news. So we got GOX floating out there as a fundamental event. We've got these, sort of trials and regulators all getting hard-ons for stepping on crypto's neck here. And then we have Shanghai, which, if I'm not mistaken, was supposed to be last month, but I think that they delayed it until this month. But that's coming up fairly closely. And actually, one guy in our day trading room, he was talking lots about this because he has a whole bunch of ETH locked up. So that's also coming down the pike. So we got a bunch of these really big sort of fundamental unknowns that are overhanging the market. And I don't know whether really the price can break until this has all been sort of resolved. And that's, I think, the number one reason why I think that we've just been stuck in this 3 weeks of doji, because there's just a lot of fundamental drivers that were really close. All right, that sort of describes what I see here in the short term. It does look to me like we're trying to clean up. We had the market get egregiously overbought there. We are trying to clean up. For this to still be a bull, just keep painting higher highs and higher lows. So why are we not painting higher highs? What I'm worried about here is we go up and we do some sort of, and then we went after the stops. We trip up, and this is down the road. I don't think this is today. But we trip up all of these stop loss orders now. We go up and we hit these technical objectives, and they're still floating out there. In fact, what I like to affectionately call this as we're climbing the wall of worry. We zip up top. It's on more divergence. And then we come screaming down the other side. That's what I'm fearful of here. So having said that, and that's what this was, right? So we go screaming up, we hit all those upside objectives, up at 31, 32, and then come plowing down the other side. So anyway, we'll see how that goes. As I put out in public messages and stuff, we haven't actually broken down here yet. So I don't think it's, like if you are the public, and especially people who are watching this, probably you're not trading off of like 30-minute charts or even lower than that. I think it's actually pretty simple. If you see the market up through this high here, then I think we're off to the races. If you see the market down through this low here, then that means M's are starting to fire. And we could very easily be finally sort of playing this megaphone pattern out. And as this plays out, we'll sort of comment on how we act against levels and do we see indicator confirmation and stuff. Right now, I mean, geez, what does 3 weeks of doji look like? Well, it looks like that. And then off of the 4 hour, I mean, it's even more mind numbing. It looks like that. I mean, we're just compressing, compressing, compressing. And they always say, right, the bigger the channel, the bigger the run. So we've got 3 weeks of energy being compressed here, and it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter. Whichever way this darn thing resolves, it's going to be violent. So, if you're trading this and you're margin trading, leverage trading, all that, you better respect your stops, or you might have your account just taken from you because of sort of, leverage margin liquidity trading. Anyway, yeah, so there are some fundamentals here that are still driving price higher. We haven't really, quote unquote, broken down yet. And if anything, this is kind of fun. This is an environment where, the altcoin pumpers, especially on sites like KuCoin and stuff like that, they should be having just a field day in here. I did notice things like this LTO starting to perk up. You know how much I like W's. I already bought this big weekly W, but that's great to see. So, huge rally overnight. It's kind of fizzled out here. But as just another good example that you can see these things, if they catch a bid, oh boy, look out. So this one hasn't had that LTO pop yet, but you can see there's a little W coming in there. You might even bought this out. Did hear a lot of talk in the TRI site about here's one that popped. You can see all the W's, so away we go. There's just a whole bunch of them that are all sort of like individually just doing their thing. This guy already popped, so that's a bit old.
Hey, FYI, Brian, we've got about
Yeah.
an hour left for you to answer all those questions over there in the document.
Are there a lot? I didn't think there were many today.
There's a few,
Okay.
maybe about five.
Then, of course, there's always these crazy stories. Is this thing actually going to top out here yet? I don't know. If anything, I don't like to get into the business of predicting whether this thing's going to top out yet. I'm long from down here. Sold half on a double, sold half on another double. And if they want to take it higher, great. If they want to pull it back, great, I'll reload. Am I going to get into the business of predicting that this thing is going to top out? No. Having said that, if this thing does M out here and the market's smiling at you, be forewarned. I mean, you know how these things go. And it's just sort of like, just individual names. Look at this little guy. I mean, is this thing not ready to go? I mean, that's over on Shitterex. So, we all know about Shitterex. Probably all those quotes will die soon. But I did have this over on another exchange that I was following. Where are you? Cello. I thought I had you on here. I know I do. Just where the heck is he? He's down here somewhere. There he is. So this is over on Binance. Suppose there's another huge, and I didn't even include this in the rants, but here's another huge potential bombshell. We talked about, I guess to a certain degree, we kind of made reference to this. Gessler is, from what I understand, they're potentially sending out sort of, I don't know, hit list on Binance and CZ. They would like to bring him in. So there's always that floating out there. We had our site. In fact, actually interesting. We have the old Bitcoin and altcoin trading talk shows starting up here soon. This coming week, we're going to do a pilot with them, just see if we can pull this off. So be cognizant of that. Paul, who, from what I understand, is kind of under the weather right now. So poor guy. I hope he's feeling better. What was the reference of Paul? Anyway, he was show co-host there over when I was sort of running that Wednesday show on my own. Can't remember what I was making reference to him about. Anyway, oh yeah, it was Binance. I always like to check in with him and sort of like, okay, what's the deal with Binance? Is it going to go under this week? So I don't know what Binance's fate is like. If you want to maybe in the comments or something, if you're a big fan of Binance or you have some sort of inside scoop over there, let me know what the fate of Binance is. I did pull quite a bit of money, whatever the little stake that I have working with now over there. I did pull that off, and it's safely off of the exchange. But I think I'm wondering whether I should pull some more stuff off there just to be safe. But anyway, I mean, you see the W's here. If this thing wants to go, it's got the green light. That chart just looks absolutely perfect. Having said that, it doesn't have to go, and it could very easily break down. And if you're margin, leverage trading, this kind of stuff, when we start losing these lows, then maybe you better get the hell out of there. Okay, so just the point being that, these assets, I don't know whether I really like the idea of shorting them here. Woo, look at this little NKN. Yeah, I mean, you come in and short these darn things, you're going to get your head handed to you. I suppose lower time frame players, I think we were looking at this on like a 2-hour chart or something, talking about bot setups. I mean, look at that. So pretty. So had you taken this bot, I hope you're ringing the register and you're dancing in the streets. Way to go. And as long as we keep seeing this, I don't know. It's awfully tough to make the argument that crypto's breaking down. I don't see it yet. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. Okay, let's hopefully that gives you an idea of what I'm seeing in Bitcoin. I hope that wasn't too convoluted. But sideways here on things like 4 hours. Is Brian trade range, lower time frame setup, selling against highs? Actually, this was a bot setup that I have off lower time frames. But I got to get religion. I don't really want to talk 30 minutes with you guys of that. So we'll just leave it at the 4 hour. Still just waiting. Have a bunch of fundamental drivers coming up. I think that the fundamental drivers get done. And then once they get done, then we have done. Like if I understand correctly, I think Shanghai is supposed to happen here sometime in early April. The Mt. Gox thing, I think, is going to resolve sometime here through middle of April. When does this SBF trial start? I don't know. Does Gessler drop any bombs? Who knows? Are there arrest warrants and stuff for CZ? Who knows? But you can see, I think that this actually all gets resolved by time the next FOMC meeting comes up. And it's interesting because FOMC has a bad habit of knocking risk in the teeth. And I got the impression that Mr. Powell would like to put everybody who's not a banker, who's pretending to be a banker, out of the banking business. This gentleman here that I made reference to a moment ago, he sort of talked as well to that point, that what is a bank? What is their job? Very interesting, the different definitions of what banks are these days. And I don't think that most people that are in the sort of quote-unquote banking industry of late, relative newcomers, understand what Powell thinks banks are. I.e., banks are actually lending institutions in this great fugazi grasshopper world that we live in. They're not places to keep wealth and safety deposit box, which is what banks theoretically should be. So it's interesting how the definition of banks themselves is actually under question right now. Fascinating. So, very interesting month. I have a funny feeling 1 month from now. And of course, you see whose birthday is coming up here. I have yet to see, and maybe I will be wrong this year. I hope I am, because I don't want to see the Bitcoin or prices collapse. But I've yet to see a birthday of mine. We all know, what are we supposed to do in the month of May? I think I put that on the chart there earlier when I was barking away. So I've yet to see a birthday of mine where Bitcoin's rallying. So the fact that we have this FOMC meeting coming up in early May, and then Brian's birthday is a week or two after that, I got a funny feeling you know exactly when the big thumping is going to come. If anything, it's absolutely telegraphed, which means, ironically enough, I think we could go for 4 dojis. What do you think? 4 dojis? You up for it? Who knows? Okay, that's sort of my rants. And, like I said, while that's happening, have fun in shitcoin land because these shitcoins are having a great old time. And while we're heading into the GOX event, while we're heading into Shanghai, while we're heading into when is Mr. Jerk regulator down there in the state going to drop the hammer on people like CZ and stuff? Well, until that happens, get out there and have some fun trading these shalt coins because it looks like there's money to be made. All right, let's head on over to those questions. I've got about 45 minutes or so. Hopefully, I'll give you some half decent value for your participation here today. Thank you very much for listening to all my rants, and hopefully, I've given you some value. Yeah, we're up to 5 questions. All right, well, that's not terrible. All right, number 1. Hi, Brian. Can you explain AB equals CD? Do you simply draw AB wherever you like, or is there any rule on how to draw these lines? As I know, it is not taught at the TRI school. Oh, yeah, totally is. AB equals CD is a harmonic pattern. And harmonics, because they often get you to take trades at very awkward places, the D point in harmonics, this D, is actually what we call a PRZ in harmonic land, or potential reversal zone. And for the ABCD aficionado, and you'll learn this in the level 3 program, the only point in the entire AB equals CD equation, the only point that is of any value whatsoever is the point D. So if you are a harmonic purist, kind of like that image that I showed you of the where the hell was it? It was the dominance, wasn't it? Yeah. This is a perfectly good, valid example of a harmonic pattern. The only time when you can actually say this is officially a harmonic is if you draw everything out and you come out with a point D where all of the points all validate every single point along here. So it's not really like the A to B is really relevant. I mean, obviously it's relevant. That's probably not the right word. But the point is that every single point on the study has to be met before the harmonicans go, all right, that is a valid harmonic. The issue here, though, of course, is that I trade a technical setup called the bot, which is a bastardization of harmonics. And I can add, and in the level 3 program, in that particular module, we go through religiously how the bot is not a harmonic pattern. And don't go to a harmonics convention and talk about trading the bot because they'll look at you like you're from Mars. But you just have to understand that. So the point here is that if you are trading harmonically, then what you want to map out is the A to B, and you want to, basically it's an extreme high. B doesn't necessarily have to be an extreme, but it is sort of a one-directional move. And I've told you guys in videos and lectures that the market never moves in just a straight line, A to B, and that's it. Usually the market moves in a stair-step fashion, and ultimately it wants to go from A to D, but it has to reload along the way to get all the way up to D. Because once we get to B, the market's overbought. Market really wants to go to D, but if the market's overbought and everybody's long, how does it get up there? Well, the answer is we got to actually do some backfilling. We have to get some people who were long to actually be encouraged to sell, and maybe even get some people that saw this big move to actually come out and short this thing on the anticipation of the B2C. And then that way the market balances out. We relieve the overbought conditions. And then we can set up this C to D. So the first part of your question is just simply, do we, let's go back to the document. Can you explain the AB equals CD? Can I explain it? So really, I just explained it. It is A to B is the first part of the move. C to D is the second part of the move. Market can't move from A to D. It needs that reload process. So do you simply draw AB wherever you like? Well, you can. But remember, if you're drawing out a harmonic, then what you want to see is the A to B. Then you want to see the move from B to C. Of course, if you are doing the harmonics, then, whoops, where did that go? Here. Then you want to make sure that the A to B and the B to C meet the statistical criteria of the move. And this is why we teach you fibs. And really, the point here is that if you have A to B to C already in, and it's met this statistical criteria, well, then you can start sort of inferring, okay, if this is a harmonic, where should point D ultimately come in? Sometimes, and this is why I don't like teaching the level oneers harmonics, and if anything, what I want you doing is thinking about, I bought, let's say at this A point here, and I want you thinking about taking profits and getting out at this point D. Sometimes you can have what's called an alt AB equals CD, where this D point can sometimes come in all the way up to 127.2, and it can come all the way up into 1.618. So it doesn't necessarily have to stop at exactly this symmetrical D here. Sometimes it can go on quite a bit further. So yes, if you are a harmonics trader, the only level that matters to you with regard to actually taking a trade is, did this point D level get hit? And it's what's called a PRZ. And as you can see, based on the ABCD pattern, you can have various different levels that are PRZs. So like I said, if you're a level oneer, I don't want you thinking about trading the AB equals CD harmonic pattern. If you want to learn the bot as a way to participate in this move happening, basically the bot's going to draw out the A to B. It's going to look for that C retracement. Then it's going to basically project the A to B distance off of this C, which will give you the D. And I just showed you that example in a Schultz coin there. Where was that? That was this one, right? Yep. I mean, there you could argue this is an A to B to C, AB equals CD. So A to B. Then the consolidation, at least 33, but no more than 66. Then 3 subsequent higher lows, split this A to B and project it off of the C point, which takes you up to D. So A to B, C to D. And there is your bought objective. I'm going to buy this 25 level. I'm going to look to take profits at 100. And in essence, this is $1 of risk for that box right there. And that's basically, if you buy, then that's where you've got, whoop, did I just get blown out? I had stops working above. Wow, did Bitcoin price taken off? Maybe we got some news here. What's happening? Well, $300. Well, it's not bad. All right, let's see. Are we getting bottoms coming in? Well, a little bit of uppy. It's not bad. Well, we'll see how it goes. If we can bust out through the top here, and hey, maybe I'll come back from Liam's trip with a huge trade. I don't know. We'll see. All right. So finishing off this conversation. This is really what I want you to learn in the level 1 program, is this idea to try and break apart trades where this represents the amount of risk that you're going to take, And this represents the amount of reward. And in essence, this green box is bigger than this red box. That's what you want to try and ensure in this. So this is a really good example of a bot setup. It is technically an AB equals CD, but notice, right, if we put 127s, 1.618s, where is this thing? Looks like this one's going to be a 127. So that's why I don't want to teach you in the level 1 course. You know, you'll learn this later on in the program and when you learn harmonics. This is not, in the level 1 program, I don't want you thinking about taking a short just on a tag of that D. Because we can be at 127. Hell, we can go all the way up to 1.618 here. It's totally legit. So I hope that helps speak to that question. If it didn't, put a note here and we'll follow up tomorrow in the Monday broadcast. So is this taught in the TRI school? Absolutely. This is a full module. In fact, we have one gentleman on the site who fancies himself a harmonics specialist. In fact, actually, we have a bunch of people on the site that are. They even have their own sort of advanced trading room that as soon as you finish that harmonics module, if you'd like to join them, Zach will give you sort of his blessing that, yep, he feels like you've done the necessary work to join them. And he will sort of give you permission to join that room. But because harmonics gets you to take trades at really weird levels, you know, like for instance, like the shark, it's actually going to have you hunting a trade setup way up here. Or like the butterfly, as you hunting a trade setup way up here, huge rally up top here. And then, like I said, the AB equals CD can actually have 3 different potential trade locations all in this one harmonic pattern. I don't really want the level 1ers getting mired down in this. And then also, too, in a weird sort of way, harmonics will have you shorting W's, which is completely contrary to what we're trying to teach you in the level 1 program and understanding market structure. There's a logic to that, and I won't get into the logic of, you know, in this case, there's a big M. You're supposed to be hunting buy setups in the face of an M. So it's complicated, it's very advanced, and it's covered in the level 3 program. There's a reason why I wait till the level 3 program to go down that rabbit hole with you guys. So I don't know whether that helps answer your question. I hope that speaks to some of your concerns. Number 2, hello Brian. Could you please illustrate how you apply fibs in bot setup? Actually, I just did. So this is a perfectly good example of a bot setup, and the issue here is you use the word fibs, and I think that's a bit misleading. First and foremost, and it drives me absolutely crazy, and of course the half of this stuff as old gnarly technician it would, but if we do something like use this tool to identify the 50% rule, and it works very, very well for that, right? I just have 50% on all of this. You can see the tool is called fib retracement, but I can absolutely guarantee you if you attribute 50% level to Fibonacci, you're going to have Mr. W.D. Gann come out of his grave and haunt you. Hey, this is all W.D. Gann and nothing to do with fibs whatsoever. In fact, when it comes to Fibonacci numbers and the spiral, you will never find a big, fat, round number like 50% in a fib sequence. It just doesn't exist. So you have to be careful with your terminology. To draw this study on TradingView, right, we have to come down here, and what tool are you going to use? Am I going to use a fib spiral, a fib circle, Gann fan, fib time zone, modified shift pit? What the hell am I going to use to draw a WD Gann 50% rule? We got Gann boxes here. They don't even really identify 50% rule. The Gann fan identifies 50% time and price levels in the form of 45-degree angles. But there's nowhere on here that you see Gann's 50% rule. So we have to use this fib retracement tool to facilitate that need, right? Or facilitate that desire or whatever. So same sort of thing with the bot. I'm going to use this tool to map out bot levels, and that's, I want to see the market correct at least 33%, but no more than 66%. Are these fib levels? Absolutely not. Not even remotely close. They are trying to see a symmetrical, I think that's the term I want to use, move in price. And the more symmetrical price movement is, I think actually the happier the market is. The market ideally wants to move in a symmetrical fashion. So just understand, and you just saw I did it as well. We have a very detailed tutorial in the library on setups, under the setups category. I think, where do I have it? Zabat, right? And I even have a YouTube video explanation of the bot.
Right, hello everyone.
So
Brian, back with another
step by step by step by step, everything laid out. So I don't think you really need me to go through, how am I going to do all this and stuff. Go and watch the tutorial. If you've been paying attention in level 1 class, Grim trades the bot a lot. Of course, I'm constantly posting these in the lounge. So I don't think this is rocket science. You're just going to have to put the time and effort in to go and watch the videos. And really, my suggestion for you is you simply pull up a brand new spreadsheet, and I have tons of these trading plans. You can see this is my current trading plan spreadsheet. Look at all the different trading plans I have. It goes right off the sheet here. This happens to be the algo trading plan that I was telling you about earlier. But I've got tons of them. All right, here's bot, a day trading plan. Here's a trading plan that I was ICT concept, although I'm not really overly impressed with what I saw here. But anyway, nonetheless. I also have things like daily checklists that I have to do just to check in with how I'm doing mentally and am I doing my prep work and stuff for trading. So this is actually like what I would call the boot camp that I would be running in person to teach you all how to build all of these and sort of monitor yourself. So the point being that we do tons and tons of these setups on the site. There's lectures in the library. Your level 1 instructor is very comfortable with this concept, so reach out to him. I'm constantly posting these in the lounge. So I think I'll probably leave it at that for now. Which document was that? Was that this one? No. Is it maybe this one? Yeah, here we are. Okay. Number 3, can you please review XRP USD? I see a weekly bullish MACD and maybe a weekly W working. Would love to see your analysis. Yeah, I did pick up some Cripple there a while ago. It looks like the crypto market's catching a bit of a bid here, so hopefully that lasts. Cripple actually came up on our screeners a while ago as a very attractive name. Where is it? I want to show you. Is it this? Yeah. So over here, Cripple right now, still rated a 5. Price is 52 cents, 52-week range, low at 29, high of 84. So you can see we're basically at the 50% level. So I don't think it's a really compelling idea. But you can see the weekly EMA has gone above the SMA. So it's positioned bullishly. It looks like we missed the last signal of when this thing turned back up. Yeah, maybe it happened just recently. So, the backdrop is that we're coming off of the lows, and I guess sort of, this is what they call climbing the wall of worry. Yeah, so 52-week range, you can see, even last May, we were lower. So April, right? So there's April, 52-week range. We're starting to come up into those 50% levels. So, when it was down here and it was Wing out, I think it was a screaming buy. So it's moved up quite a bit. In fact, you can see I bought this weekly W way over here. I'm actually kind of just happy just to sit long here. I don't really see any huge need to act right away. I don't know whether I'd really be comfortable being a buyer there. It's a bit expensive. Where would I expect sort of price objectives over the near term? I definitely, this has Collins pump chaser zone, dump chaser zone written all over it. So there's 38.2 to 50%. That's all the way up to 90 to $1.12, or basically probably right around $1. This wide monthly, that's the word I was looking for. This monthly W is actually fired, right? You can actually see this on a monthly chart, eh? Yeah, there it is. So that's fired. That's pretty darn bullish vote. Nothing's guaranteed in this business, but I'll tell you, if you got weekly and monthly W's behind you, gee whiz. I mean, hell, you could make the argument this was basically a monthly W down in here. Never broke those lows. We came down into these lows and turned back up. And that's kind of why I don't really like the idea of buying this right here. Not the best trade location. Yeah, we got two this time. Excuse me. So you can see bought a position, and I'm willing to add to the position at 78.6s. So if we go back to that daily chart, you can see there's 78.6 off of this range. So I'm willing to step in down here. Looks like that says 34.5. Probably that was probably when this was like there kind of idea, or maybe even there. Yeah, 34.5. Interestingly enough, this is a really good anecdote that, this high, notice where the reload zone is. Basically, it's clustered against these lows. And then this high, notice where the reload zone is. Basically, it's clustered against these lows. Did you notice the similarity? So, if I'm going to add to the trade, I want to see some sort of pullback down against these lows. And that's the kind of image that I think we see through the summer and maybe through the fall, through this Sam Bankman-Fried trials. Is he convicted of fraud and money laundering? And the whole space is painted with just an absolutely horrible, tarred and feathered kind of thing. If we do get a rally up into this area, 4.669s, I suppose, off of this massive W, and maybe even all the way up to 2.618s there, then I'll be selling half of this position on a double. But actually what I would prefer is just to just come back down here and spend the next 6 months or so just cleaning this thing up and just confirming that this thing really is a base. And then, whoo-wee! Because they always say, right, the longer the channel, the bigger the run. In a weird sort of way, you don't really want to see just straight down, straight back up. What I would prefer to see if I'm a bull is straight down and then just sideways forever. And then when you do break out, woo-wee, that can be just huge. So, you can see where I'm long. I'm more than happy to add to the trade on dips against the lows. If we look at the indicators, there's just nothing here to get too excited about. Nice. Actually, a bit of a div coming in here that set up the buy off of these lows. Willie never did get stupid. I guess Willie was stupid over here. I think this is actually the reason why. Actually, I don't even see. Huh. Seems a bit odd. 71, 72, 75. Nope, never did get stupid. Was stupid over here. Actually, that's where I originally bought off of that W. I suppose if you're like, well, Brian, I joined you and I don't really want to take a loss, so I'm going to take 20, 25, 30% gains. Okay. I mean, try and follow your plan. Whatever your plan tells you to do. I would be remiss if I said for you to break your plan. My plan in this particular thing is I see a lot of upside all the way up into this area. So I'm happy to accumulate here and just be patient and wait for this retest to be selling doubles and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not really in any hurry here whatsoever. Having said that, in the short term, you can see we have actually a divergence now in volume. So that's a little bit concerning. We don't really have price divergence yet, so that's good. And Willie never did technically get stupid here. So we're not really overbought. We could still push our way higher. But right now, coming in and buying that right there, at best, at the absolute best, this would be sort of your bot setups, right? So actually, this is a good example of one. Ideally, you want to see this low at least 33% retracement. So if I go off of even this low right here, what I want to be asking is, do I have at least a 33% retracement? I do, so that works. This is a pretty recent swing low, so I kind of like that. To the person asking where and how would you draw the ABCDs, well, that's a pretty significant swing low there. So we did do 33%. So if you wanted to trade this, keep in mind, no guarantees. This thing might crap out and you better get the hell out if it breaks down. So something like that. You can see the 25 level is trying to set up. And this actually would be a good example where it might behoove you to maybe do things like wait for L Tangonators. So can I get a W on the other side of this downtrend line? Notice how we're right here at the trend line. So can I get a pop-up through there? And then can I get a nice W to come in? So something along those lines, and I think we're good to go. If you could get that W to set up off of this level here, this almost looks like an inverted head and shoulders, eh? So you get shoulder, head, neckline, shoulder. So if I can get any kind of bullish structure down in here to get long off of that neckline, I'm front running the bot, so I got a nice little cushion there. And my upside objective, 71 cents. And interestingly enough, I'm long from this 40-cent area. So what I really want to see, interesting too, how actually this is really interesting because notice 2.618 was hit here. So if we do resolve bullishly here, that's a good sign. It means we should go up to 4669. And then this might be a really good example where maybe you don't sell all of your position at that 100%, maybe spoon feed. And, you know, in the level 1 program, we talk about, you know, actually it's a level 3 program, beg your pardon, multiple selling orders. You might want to sprinkle some offers, right? Maybe sell like a third of the position here, have a third open order working here, a third open order here. And then, of course, if you get any big fat M's and you're just like, oh, man, I want to get the hell out of here, you can always just blow the rest out. But you never know. Maybe you get some sort of crazy-ass spike. Straight up and straight down. So ding, you get filled, ding, you get filled, ding, you get filled, and you look like a genius. So, you know, hopefully that gives you a pretty good idea of what I'm thinking about with regard to Cripple. It's not a bad looking, you know, if you are a trader and you're like, you know what, this is a really good example for me to cut my teeth on, go and buy like $1 worth of this. And just see how the bot setup has you feeling. I do like the idea that it's probably in our best interest to, you know, this is what we call our LJ setup. We want to see a W on the other side of this trend line. I mean, it looks nice, don't get me wrong, but just give me a nice W here. You see where the bot entry level is here, so we got lots of wiggle room. And you can see how there's a potential inverted head and shoulders. Although this shoulder is lower than that shoulder, so I don't know whether I'd really like that. This almost looks like an Adam and an Eve. Or maybe even Adam and Steve, maybe. Anyway, there's my 2 cents. Through 54, and you probably have a nice continuation trade heading higher. Indicators, if you want to throw this into the mix, and you need more sort of validation, confirmation that the idea is legit, I don't really see a dearth of buying. We would like to see higher lows and higher highs. Remember we talked about that Bitcoin volume pattern? How that was a bit suspicious. Same sort of thing here. Everybody's just falling asleep. We want to see the green buying bar start to wake up and make higher lows. As well, we have a bit of a double top here in momentum. So you can see if we go through this low, which it looks like we have, yep, I think short-term momentum has actually broken down. So I don't think there's a huge hurry. As well, we're not really getting anything out of RSI. It's interesting how Sjord, he really likes to trade RSI and Bollinger Bands. Notice the compression of energy. So clearly price is consolidating and energy is compressing, and when that releases itself either up or potentially down, it's going to be some fireworks. But we don't really have anything to do here just yet. But really, I like that compression of energy. Something is building here. And if you're a bull and you want to get yourself ready, you can see the energy compressing here. You get a nice big W in here. Man, I think you got actually a half decent idea. And I mean, look at that. There's lots and lots of green in this space here. So prices are getting bid up here still. All right. How'd we do on the questions? All right. Hi, Brian. Did you pick up Phil and Ruin? Well, Sjord's got a whole shitload of Ruin, so I don't need to buy that. And no, I didn't buy that Phil, even though every time I look at it, it just pisses me off. This is Adam's name. And not necessarily Adam, but he did like this idea. Hell, it looks to me like you got a little bot setup happening right there as we speak, eh? We've got a nice down trend line break. We've got W's happening on the other sides of trend lines. We have price did sneak its way up above these moving averages. So that's interesting. But now it looks like we've kind of melted back down. You know what I would prefer to do is, let's look at it on a daily. So this one's been kind of busting my chops because I did buy some here. Then we dumped through these lows and I got out here and I was like all proud of myself. And then this is where I was supposed to buy the darn thing back, but I just sat on my laurels and didn't do anything. So 340 ran all the way up to $9. I should have had a free trade and sitting on free coins. Woulda, coulda, shouldas, right? Drive you crazy. Market pulled back. It did go beyond 66, so that's a little bit concerning. Kind of like I had said earlier, you don't really want to see the market do a V bottom like that. Why? Because odds are we're probably going to have to come right back down after that. That's exactly what's happened here. If anything, what I would have preferred is we come down and just go sideways. Kind of like what Bitcoin's doing, right? Give me 3 weekly dojis in a row. You can see the bot levels are already drawn out and I'm ready to go. There's no excuses here, really, to be honest with you. I would be front running this, but I've got 1 low, 2 lows, 3 lows, 4 lows. There is a lot of reasons to be bullish here. Little bit of a volume pickup. If anything, the bulls were probably a little bit disappointed that this wasn't more. Of course, like I said, we've got GOX, we've got Shanghai, we've got SBF, we've got Gensler, we've got CZ. There's a lot of reasons to me. And then, of course, seasonally ending windows. We're supposed to do something in May, right? So there is a lot of reasons to maybe just cool your jets. But as setups go, I really don't have a problem if you were like, Brian, I got this W. I went and pulled the trigger and I'm going to risk against this low here. I don't really have a problem with that. I'm worried that because we haven't put in a full W on the other side of this trend line, you might find if this space does crap out and Gessler and stuff gets like a hard on for, this is Filecoin. There's also Storage. I think we saw it starting to perk up as well. Let's see what he looks like. Yeah, so I think probably File was moving along sort of in conjunction with Storage. Nice to see the volumes, but still a little suspicious here, eh? I mean, if this is such a bull, where the hell are the damn buyers? So, I like the idea. Have I pulled the trigger? No. Why am I reluctant to pull the trigger? I think what I really want to see is I want to see a nice juicy W over here. So we got the breakout through the trend line. Then we came back. Then we rallied up. Then we put in an inside bar. Then the inside bar just failed. So at best, we've got this little W working here, right there. No, I think I'd like to see something a little bit more concrete. Yeah. And interestingly enough, this is a daily chart. So on the dailies, you can see the momentum actually rolled over. I suppose if this thing is legit, then we should break out. These moving averages should cross back up. Then, that is the bot level right there. So I do have quite a bit of wiggle room here if I am interested. But you know what I really want is I want like boom, 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 bang. Something that looks like that. So this, it's kind of wishy-washy. I don't have a problem whatsoever if you say, well, Brian, I do like the fact that we have these higher lows. I'm gonna go and say, even buy this level 574, and I'm gonna risk to a break of the bottom there at 464. So I'm gonna risk $1.10, which is about 20%. Which means that this has to fall into the category of like Joe six-pack kind of trade. So I don't really have a problem with that. But you just have to be fully cognizant and prepared that if we do crap out, in fact, if we get an M below this trend line, which it hasn't happened, there's no reason to be concerned yet. I wouldn't be surprised if we dip back down against here though. But if we do get an M below that trend line, that actually becomes a new sell signal there. So just be aware of that. It hasn't happened yet, but it could. And this one's it's very close to being tradable in my eyes. Very close. And then just, live by the sword, die by the sword. If this thing craps out, you better get the hell out of here. And then of course a whole brand new downtrend. You could argue that the original uptrend line was actually broken here. So any kind of M on the other side of that, which I think would be a break of these lows, big honking M here. And this probably is a bear BTC.D to take us right back against the lows. So you want to step in and play this bottom right in here? Okay. I would say if you're going to like higher octane, higher leverage, margin trader kind of trade, going to put more than, 10% of my stake at work in this trade, then probably this is your trade window. You're going to buy the move up above there, which already happened, and you're going to risk to a break of these lows, and that's basically a 200 period moving average. Or if you got like a big M that came in on the other side of this trend line, you just get the hell out. All right, so I'm sort of sitting on the fence, but I am close to being interested in this. If that makes any sense at all. And I'm not really getting anything compelling out of momentum here. It's sort of like just, meh, there it is. And of course, I don't really have any fundamental drivers. Give me a good fundamental story. Oh, well, Brian, they have this product that's being launched this date here. Okay, well, then at least then I've got something to chew on to give me a reason to be long. Just being long for the sake of being long, it's kind of no man's landy, eh? Like if I did a reload zone just off of this range, where is cheap ass Brian shopping? Well, ironically enough, right back against the original bottom, which actually you can kind of see, right? If we go, speaking to that person who asked about ABCD, so there's clearly an A to B. If this is a C to D, then we just take the rally peak and then project that, and oh, gee whiz, look, there is that basically move against the lows. And that would be right up against this trend line, and that would be sort of, we lose this uptrend line, and quite often in the market you see that it just sort of walks its way down this original trend line here. So that would be that scenario. It's kind of just meh. Not like, oh my God, this thing is such a beautiful chart. What I would just simply say is if you're going to trade this on trend continuation, that's A to B, C to D going up, then okay, you got a shot there. But if it starts to fail, you better get the hell out of there. Okay, well, hopefully that speaks to that question. All right, so that's 4. And then the last one, what time is it? Yeah, I got about 10 minutes here. Brian, why do you think that this is the worst market state in your career? Does this also mean that it's the worst time to start trading for beginners? I think this is absolutely perfect time for beginners to get in and learn setups, because I think a lot of setups are going to fail. So this is absolutely perfect time for you to learn the mechanics of things like the L-Tangonator and the bot and paper trade. And if you can't paper trade, like my buddy Paul says in the Wednesday shows, and I think this is what he tells all his communities, take like $100, and can you double that $100, not risking more than 5% of your stake on any one single trade, which would be $5. Ideally, you're going to take like $5 bets, see if you can turn them into $10. Maybe $5 risks, see if you can turn them into $15. And just keep compounding your money. So it's an absolutely perfect time for that. And then if you do this exercise, because I've told you before, and this is the same image as this from the blog, right? I believe that this is what the year is going to look like. I know specifically, and there's an old expression in the market that just says, don't fight the Fed. If the Fed is in the middle of raising interest rates, don't fight that. You're probably best just to sit on the sidelines. But the good part about these is they all come in cycles. So as I've shown you guys before, all right, if we can do this, let's see if I can do this. We are in an absolutely horrible part of the cycle right now. But the good part about it is this cycle should be coming to an end relatively soon. So we are in this. And I mean, just go look at what the stock market has done. Go look at what your beloved Bitcoin has done. Go look at what dog money has done. Worst part about the things like dog money is that guy could have very easily come out when he was on Saturday Night Live and say, it's probably not a good idea to go and invest your hard-earned money in dog money right now. Maybe just wait for it to calm down and do things like trade back against the bottom end of its trading range. Did he? No, not even remotely close. In fact, what's really scary right now is he's out there making social media references to how he believes that people barking at each other on Twitter is very similar to the way the Matrix code is cascading down the walls. And I have a funny feeling that he's trying to send some sort of hidden message to the public about that. And what I actually find really interesting, and I even tweeted it out yesterday, was that, this compression that you see in Bitcoin price. I mean, like I said this before, I can't remember the last time I saw 3 weeks of indecision out of Bitcoin in a row and 3 dojis. I can't remember the last time I saw that. And of course, this week hasn't finished, so maybe we go fucking face ripping up and make new highs. I don't know. But if the market finishes anywhere where we are right now, this is quite what's the word I'm looking for? Almost precedent setting. And then, as I said, what's the definition of a dangerous market? Well, a market that just sits there very quietly. Whoops, not this one. Sits very quietly. It bores everyone to tears, and yet it's starting to set up megaphone short setups that are huge movers. So, ironically enough, in the actual environment that we're in right now with the very, very low volatility on the weekly price chart, people go, hey, kid, this is a great market. This is easy. This is easy peasy. And I have a bad feeling. I have a sneaky suspicion that they're setting just the biggest trap here for the public. But we'll see. Only time will tell. I still fully think that this is what our year looks like. And into September, October, November of this year, I do actually expect us to trade back down to new lows, which of course is very, very unpopular, and it's very difficult to sell newsletters and site subscriptions and circle jerks and orgies and stuff. If you're saying everybody's got a venereal disease, go home. Don't and keep your private parts very close. It's asking for trouble getting involved here. But, oh well, it's just my opinion. So, there is an old expression in the market, don't fight the Fed. And I might make the argument that we have to wait for this to turn back up. And you can see where the 4-year cycles, there was the last 4-year cycle pivot back up. Look how long it took for them. And remember this was, should we debate mortgaging our kids' future? Shut the fuck up and give them the money, right? And all of a sudden they pivoted violently higher. And this is where Bitcoin basically last halving event, and it went absolutely insane all the way up into the top of this cycle. I mean, it was actually textbook. It was so cliche the way this played out. So we have to wait for this event to happen. There's the Bitcoin halving event. We know that the market loves to bottom about 6 months prior to that halving event. I mean, just go back and look in time. So this is a monthly chart. So where are 6 bars? Oh, they're right there. So here we are here, and we got to get to there. And between here and there, I think we have to do this. So that's why I think this is an extremely dangerous part of the market. So couple that with the fact that, oh, by the way, Mr. Benner has told us that 23 is a down year. Do you think that the 1%, the banksters, the oligarchs, whatever the hell you want to call it, do you think they're going to make this bottom easy? Do you think they're going to paint just a big fat W so that Brian comes out and goes, there's the big W, folks. Just go and buy it and you're guaranteed to make money. Do you think it's going to be that easy? I can unequivocally tell you, no, it is not going to be that easy. And just as that image that I showed you a second ago, the Wyckoff check, so, they'll paint some sort of big W and make it look like, hey, this is easy peasy, no problem. And then they're going to have a nice little fuck you just to break everybody's heart here before the actual pivot comes in and this damn thing goes straight up. So Just understand that this is a difficult business. This is a business all about basically them transferring the wealth from the uneducated, impatient public to the educated, patient, disciplined 1%. So I wouldn't be surprised if they get you all rah rah bull, we're going straight to the moon, and then there's a big fuck you that wipes everybody out. And that's one of the main reasons why I think this is an extremely difficult market state. You're fighting against the 1% here. You are trying to force a bull market right now is literally thumbing your nose at the banksters, which we all know how that goes, folks. It's not usually pretty. Once we get on the other side of this halving event, I think the entire story changes. Not only from the money cycle perspective, but also from the Bitcoin perspective. And really, we're all best served just to go slowly. You can dollar cost average in on good quality names, but understand, like the cripples and the Filecoins and all that kind of stuff. Could there be a 6-month period where they use the bureaucrats like that Getzler guy to just put the fear of God into you people? Absolutely. It is. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if it's actually in the job description. You must freak these crypto kids out. That is your job, Mr. Gessler. That wouldn't surprise me one bit. So, you put that kind of backdrop in place, and yeah, I got to say, add insult to injury. It seems to me, isn't it kind of interesting, Chris? Everybody's forgotten about this Klaus guy and the Great Reset. I mean, nobody talks about this shit anymore. Substitute drama teachers have been completely let off the hook about all this shit. But just try and remember, 2020s. Go look back in your history books. What was the 1940s like? I've shown you guys this repeatedly. You think the inflation problems are done? Oh my God. What you just saw happen out of the past couple of years is nothing compared to what we have coming down the pike. So here is like 1942, same sort of part of the cycle. 41, 42, 43, that's basically where we are. You can see in 41, inflation spiked all the way to double digits and freaked everybody out. And then in 43, a la 23, notice the inflation rate started to come down. And by 24, they actually got it back to like 0. But notice as we go into the latter part of the decade, remember, and you all should know this, let's just do a quick trivia question. When are we supposed to expect Bitcoin to peak? And you all should know this. Hey, Paul, look at that. Paul gave us 50 Rons. Hey, Paul, I hope you're feeling better, man. I don't like to hear that you're having health issues. You're one of the good people in this world. Hey, there he goes. If you can't manage a small portfolio, you certainly can't manage a large one. This is a great environment for you all to cut your teeth on. Absolutely. The German had his Wyckoff accumulation pattern going up from here. All right. That's what makes a market. I don't know whether the German guy, if that's the guy that you're thinking about, I don't know whether he has that much experience in the market. I think he was a taxi driver just previous cycle. So all it takes is one Bitcoin bull cycle and all of a sudden now you're an expert, eh? Oh, goodness. Anyway, look at what's... So nobody answered that question. Let's, and I got to get out of here. I have to finish this video literally in the next 5-10 minutes. So number one, there's 40 of you watching. When is Bitcoin supposed to top? And actually, it's stunningly simple. Chris, you want to give him the answer?
1825.
Yeah, well, November even. You could even specifically say November of 2025. And notice, 44, inflation wasn't a problem. I mean, 1%, 2%, this is exactly what the Fed says that they want. And then notice the end of 45. Look at what happens about the middle of 46. Holy fuck. What the hell happened here between June and July? Inflation triples? And then that's not even the worst of it. And now we're up into sort of the neighborhood of, oh, how bad. Look how we just explode into like the 20s. All right, well, did we get 20? Oh, no, maybe not. 19.67% was the stated inflation rate peak here. I think this is exactly what you have to look forward to here at the end of this decade. The end of this decade is going to be a fucking train wreck. Now, the one good part about this is if Bitcoin is anticipating this, I've actually heard people starting to talk about how Bitcoin and gold might have to actually start geometrically growing. So that means they actually go up like exponentially. Good boy. So, maybe that's how you get your $1 million Bitcoin. I don't know. But make no mistake about it. We're not done through the shit by a long shot. But the good part about it here, right? Right now we are in the spring of 43, if we were going to use this as a comparison. And really into the end of 2025, this is your window, folks. If you want to make $1 million in crypto, this is your window. You got to do it now. And we said, of course, that we have a halving event in Bitcoin in, what is it? I think it's April of 24, April, May, something like that. And we know that Bitcoin price likes to bottom about 6 months ahead of that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So right, literally, what a surprise. October, that's exactly when I expect the Bitcoin price to dump and bottom. And I think that it's going to dump and bottom because of nothing to do with Bitcoin. And that's exactly what happened through that last cycle. And Mr. Kavarkinator's insane buy down here. Bitcoin dumped, but it had absolutely nothing to do with Bitcoin. And look what the end result was. So, can you set yourself up that heading into the fall, and that's over here, you are going to be finishing your accumulation pattern, your accumulation plan, and you are, once we get into this November, December, you are buying the weakness, whatever it looks like, and you are setting yourself up for that Bitcoin halving rally. And, look what happened following the last halving. Look what happened following the previous halving. It just goes on and on. So, I don't think opportunity is here just yet, but I think opportunity is approaching. So, all right. I think I'm going to leave it at that. I think we got all the questions answered. I don't know whether I really did a good job here today or not. I don't know. Give me some feedback on YouTube. Let me know whether you feel as though you got some value out of this. And if not, oh, geez, there's somebody else asked another question. I'll speak to this tomorrow. Whoever asked this, I didn't get enough. Keep in mind, I don't really want to go into debt doing these kind of things and renting these houses and having food and the whole thing. We got to have at least a half a dozen people interested. I had about 4 people, I guess, in earnest asked about the boot camp. So we did have 2 or 3 people ask whether they could do a boot camp this fall. So if anything, what I'm going to do, my plan is we'll plan to do one this fall. And I'm going to spend the spring and the summer filling all of this out so that when you get to the boot camp, you've got 6 months of what it is that you're learning how to do, all these different setups, how to report them, how to keep track, how to log everything, and just, get going. I want to get this opening range trade plan actually up and running with Chris over that intervening period so that when we do hit the boot camp, we are actually doing the opening range trade every single day. So there's still moving parts that need to be sort of put together with regard to this boot camp. But as I said, I think I'm going to plan to do that this late summer, maybe early fall. So that's your answer there. And if anything, these are the kind of questions and stuff that I would prefer people maybe we talk about through the daily brief after parties and all that kind of stuff. Then we can sort of, kick around what should this boot camp look like? Where do we want to do it? What kind of price point is agreeable to everybody, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if anything, let's if there was overwhelming demand, I would have just hopped on a plane and I would have been over in Europe in a heartbeat. But considering the market state, it really shouldn't surprise us. Most crypto kids are really not doing that well right now, and that's understandable. And even just the broader market, right? I mean, I think the stock market's still down 10-20% from its peak. So, okay, it's after 1 o'clock. I got to get out of here. PMA for the win. Wish me luck with Liam on the road today. Wish me luck in just being the best person I can possibly be. I appreciate it. Thank you, Chris, for your assistance today. Was there anything I was supposed to mention that maybe I didn't? I think I got everything.
I think you did hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, all that good stuff.
Yeah, if you could help us get above 8,000, that's the benchmark we're looking for. Thank you very much, Paul, for your donation. Of course, any of you else, if you feel like donating a couple of dollars to the cause, always helps. Thank you very much for the best wishes for Liam and I this afternoon. If you are interested, maybe pop on over to our sign up page for the raffle. Get to know about the program a little bit more and all the various people's testimonies who've taken this. We're all, if you did take the level 1 course or you're finishing up, maybe you did the level 2, level 3, whatever. We're always looking for testimonials. So just everybody remember that we always like to have positive feedback from our students. So if you feel like posting something, I think we're doing this on, where are we doing this? I'm not really the best for that. Maybe just reach out to Chris or Julian on the site. Julian, of course, is the quarterback of all this. Josh as well on the site. He could probably give you help on how we get more positive feedback from the course. And of course, by all means, I've always made this guarantee to everybody on this course. If you take the course and you come to class and you do all the homework and you write the final exam and you don't feel as though you got your money's worth with this program, we have a money back guarantee. I haven't met a single person that could actually show me that they actually were upset or felt gypped. I think everybody feels as though they get overwhelming value for their money spent. So and that's always a good thing. So if you have time, maybe pop on over here, throw your name in the raffle. We'd love to give you the seat for free. Or maybe even consider joining the education program. I think our price point is ridiculously cheap and definitely well worth the money spent. So, all right, have yourselves a great day. PMA for the win. All the best. Hugs and kisses. The only thing left for me to say is bye for now.